The Unshakable You, How to Build Inner Power When Nobody Cares. There's a harsh truth we all eventually run into. Sometimes it creeps up on us slowly, over years of quiet disappointments. Sometimes it hits us all at once, like a door slamming shut in a silent room. And the truth is this: nobody really cares. They don't care about your excuses, no matter how valid they feel to you. They don't care about the depth of your pain, the kind that keeps you awake at 3 in the morning. They don't even truly care about your vast, untapped potential that you know, deep down, you possess. At first, this realization feels cruel. It feels cold, isolating. It's the kind of thought that can make the world seem like a vast, indifferent landscape. We've been raised on stories of support, of community, of being seen and understood. We've been taught to believe that if we just explain ourselves clearly enough, if we just show our scars, someone will step in, someone will validate our struggle, someone will finally, truly, care. But what if they don't? What if, after all the explaining, all the striving, all the quiet hoping, you are met with a profound silence? A silence not of malice, but of preoccupation. The truth is, everyone is the main character in their own movie. They are wrestling with their own demons, chasing their own dreams, nursing their own heartbreaks. Their capacity to care about the intricate details of your journey is, by nature, limited. Sit with that feeling for a moment. Don't run from it. Let the coldness of it wash over you. Because if you can withstand that initial chill, you'll discover something on the other side. Something deeper. Something incredibly, profoundly, liberating. Because the moment you stop expecting the world to care is the moment you finally, truly, begin to take full ownership of your life. It is the moment you are handed the keys to your own kingdom. The need for an audience, for applause, for a nod of approval from the crowd, it dissolves. And in its place, a quiet, solid strength begins to grow. You stop living your life to be understood by others and you start living to understand yourself. You stop spending your precious energy explaining your dreams to people who are only half listening, and you start using that energy to build them, brick by quiet brick. You stop waiting for a standing ovation and you start learning to be your own most committed supporter, showing up for yourself every single day, with or without recognition. If you have ever felt utterly misunderstood, if you have ever felt like you are walking your path completely alone, navigating a wilderness that no one else can see, I want you to know something. Good. Yes, good. That feeling of being alone isn't a sign that you are lost. It is a sign that you have finally stepped off the well-trodden, crowded path that was never meant for you. It is the first, painful, necessary step toward finding your own direction. This journey isn't about being heartless or becoming a stone. It's about becoming free. It's about reclaiming the immense power you've been giving away to others, placing it back in your own hands, where it has always belonged. The day you stop needing the world to care is the day you can finally focus on what truly matters. Not their opinion of your character, but the integrity of your character itself. Not their applause for your direction, but your own conviction in the path you are walking. Not their admiration for your discipline, but the deep, personal peace that comes from a life lived with intention. That is where real peace lies. Not in being praised, but in the quiet, steady process of becoming. So today, we are not here to learn tricks to get people to like us more. We are not here to find strategies to win more approval. We are here to do something far more radical. We are here to embark on a journey inward, to build a strength so deep and so real that it doesn't need external validation to exist. A strength that stands firm, even when no one is watching. Especially when no one is watching. This is the path to becoming unshakable. And it all begins with embracing that one, liberating truth. Nobody cares. So let's begin the work of focusing on your life. The commander in your head, the science of your inner citadel. Have you ever looked back at your own reaction to something and thought, that wasn't me? Maybe it was the flash of white-hot anger in a traffic jam, where for a moment, you became a person you didn't recognize. Or perhaps it was the wave of paralyzing anxiety that washed over you after reading a 2-sentence email from your boss, making you spiral for hours. It could be the defensive, cutting remark you made to a loved one, a remark that you regretted the second it left your lips. In those moments, it feels like we are hijacked. Something else takes the wheel, and we are just passengers on a ride we cannot control. For years, you might have told yourself it's just how you are, or that you have a short fuse, or that you're just an anxious person. You gave it a label, you built a story around it, and maybe you resigned yourself to it. But what if I told you that what is happening in those moments is not a character flaw, but a biological process? A predictable, ancient, and understandable conflict happening deep within the architecture of your brain. And more importantly, what if I told you that you have the power to influence the outcome of that conflict? To understand this, let's talk about the two key players inside your head. Think of it not as one unified mind, but as a committee of two, with two very different agendas. In one corner, you have the ancient, primal part of your brain. Let's call it the guard dog. Its technical name is the amygdala, but guard dog is more accurate. It's been with our species for hundreds of thousands of years. Its only job is to keep you safe. It is incredibly fast, constantly scanning the environment for threats. Is that a snake in the grass? Is that a predator in the shadows? Is that person in my tribe going to cast me out? The guard dog doesn't think, it reacts. It operates on a simple, brutal binary, safe or unsafe. And when it senses a threat, it pulls a fire alarm that floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline. It prepares you to fight, to flee, or to freeze. This system is a masterpiece of evolution. It is the reason our ancestors survived long enough to pass on their genes. It is the reason you are alive today. But there's a problem. Your guard dog is ancient. It hasn't really had a software update in 200,000 years. And so, it cannot tell the difference between a life-threatening predator and a critical comment on social media. It can't distinguish between being exiled from the tribe and being left out of a group chat. To the guard dog, a threat is a threat. A looming deadline, an unexpected bill, an argument with your spouse, all of these trigger the same primal, red alert response. It barks, it growls, it tries to take over. Now, in the other corner, you have the newest, most evolved part of your brain. This is your prefrontal cortex. Let's call it the commander. This is the CEO, the strategist, the seat of your logic, your discipline, and your wisdom. Your commander is slow, deliberate, and energy-intensive. It's the part of you that can think about the future, weigh consequences, understand nuance, and align your actions with your deepest values. When the guard dog is screaming, "We're all going to die," the commander is the voice that can calmly say, "Wait. Let's look at the facts here." This is uncomfortable, but it is not a catastrophe. Every moment of your life is a potential negotiation between the guard dog and the commander. When you lose control, when you are hijacked by rage or anxiety, it is simply a moment where your guard dog has overpowered your commander. It has wrestled the controls away and is now flying the plane. And here is where the wisdom of the ancient Stoics becomes breathtakingly relevant. 2,000 years before fMRI scans and neuroscience, philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus understood this inner battle perfectly. When they spoke of building an inner citadel, they weren't just using a beautiful metaphor. They were describing, with stunning accuracy, a training regimen for the commander. Building your inner citadel is the literal, physical act of strengthening the neural pathways in your prefrontal cortex. It is the process of teaching your brain to create a tiny space, a moment of pause, between a trigger and your response. Every time you successfully do this, you are carving a new riverbed for your thoughts to flow down. You are doing a push-up for your commander. Let's make this real. You're driving. Someone cuts you off. The guard dog erupts. It screams, "That person disrespected me. They endangered me. They must be punished." It wants you to honk, to tailgate, to yell. But then, your commander, because you've been training it, steps in. It takes a breath and says, "Okay, that was startling. But my safety is intact. My destination has not changed. Getting angry will only ruin my own peace. It is outside of my control. I will focus on what I can control, my own breathing and the music on my radio." That is a victory. That is a brick being laid in the wall of your citadel. Or, you receive that critical email. The guard dog yelps. It screams, "I'm a failure. My boss hates me. I'm going to be fired." It wants you to panic, to ruminate, to draft a defensive, rambling reply. But your commander, now stronger, steps in. It says, "Let's read this again, slowly. What does it actually say? Is there a piece of constructive feedback here that I can use to improve? Or is this just my colleague's stress spilling over? Either way, my worth is not determined by this single email. I will take an hour to calm down, and then I will respond with clarity and professionalism." Another brick laid. This is not about suppression. You are not trying to kill the guard dog. It is a vital part of you. You are simply training it. You are teaching it that not every alarm is a 5-alarm fire. You are reassuring it that the commander is on duty and has the situation under control. So here is your first exercise. It is simple, but it is not easy. The next time you feel that hot, rising tide of emotion, anger, fear, jealousy, shame, I want you to do one thing. Pause. Just for a second. And in that second, I want you to name the feeling, as if you were a scientist observing a specimen. Say it to yourself, "Ah. There is anger." Or, "I am sensing a wave of anxiety." That simple act of naming it is profound. When you are lost in the emotion, you are the emotion. But when you can name it, you are no longer the emotion. You are the one who is observing it. And in that tiny shift of perspective, you have passed the controls from the guard dog back to the commander. You have stepped back into the citadel. This is the foundation. Understanding that you are not your emotions. You are not your reactions. You are the calm, steady presence behind them. And from that place, you can learn to lead yourself with wisdom, with courage, and with peace. You can build a fortress inside your own mind that no external event, no opinion, no criticism, can ever truly breach. The art of self-approval, for the recovering people pleasers. This next part is for a specific group of people, and you know who you are. This is for every recovering people pleaser out there. For you, the art of reading a room isn't a skill, it's a survival mechanism you learned so long ago you can't even remember when it started. You can walk into a space and instantly sense the emotional temperature. You know who needs to be placated, who needs to be praised, whose ego needs to be gently massaged. You've become a master chameleon, shape-shifting your personality, your opinions, even your desires, to fit the expectations of those around you. You've spent a lifetime becoming an expert on everyone else's needs, and in the process, you have become a stranger to your own. Living this way is utterly exhausting. It's a constant, low-grade performance. It's the burden of carrying 100 different masks and the fear of being caught with none. And the most tragic part? You do it because you believe it's the path to connection, to being liked, to being valued. But it is a false promise. Because the you they like isn't you. It is a carefully curated reflection of what you think they want to see. Let's be clear, this impulse doesn't come from a place of weakness. It comes from one of the most fundamental human needs, the need to belong. It started early. A smile from a parent when you were good. A gold star from a teacher when you gave the right answer. A like on a post. These were all tiny hits of approval, little breadcrumbs that taught our brains a simple equation: approval equals safety, disapproval equals danger. So you learn to be good, to be agreeable, to be accommodating. You learn to silence the parts of you that might cause friction. It was a brilliant strategy to survive childhood, to navigate the complexities of social groups. But now, as an adult, that survival strategy has become a cage. You have built the beautiful, intricate house of your life on someone else's land. That land is external validation. And it is the most unstable ground you could possibly choose. It shifts with people's moods, with their biases, with their distractions, with their own insecurities. One day, you are praised for being decisive. The next, you are criticized for being bossy, for the exact same action. One day, your quiet nature is seen as wise and thoughtful. The next, it's interpreted as being aloof and disengaged. If your sense of self-worth is built on this land, you will live in a constant state of anxiety, forever checking the weather of other people's opinions. And this is why the Stoics saw praise and criticism as two sides of the same counterfeit coin. Both are equally dangerous if your identity is tied to them. If a stranger's compliment can make your day, then a stranger's insult can ruin it. In both scenarios, who holds the remote control to your inner peace? Not you. The antidote to this is not to become arrogant or to stop caring about other people. The antidote is to engage in a quiet, radical act. The act of self-approval. Self-approval is the decision to fire the chaotic, unreliable court of public opinion and to hire one, and only one, judge, yourself. It is the practice of measuring your worth not by the world's applause, but by your own alignment with your own values. It is the shift from an outer scorecard to an inner scorecard. The outer scorecard is full of questions like, do they think I'm smart? Do they like my work? Am I popular? The inner scorecard has only one question, in many forms: was I honest? Was I brave? Did I act with integrity? Did I show up with discipline? Did I treat others with the respect I expect for myself, regardless of whether they returned it? Modern psychology is finally catching up to this ancient wisdom. Studies now show that the act of self-validation, of acknowledging and accepting your own feelings without judgment, can have a powerful soothing effect on your nervous system. When you tell yourself, it makes sense that I feel disappointed right now, I worked hard on that, you are giving yourself the very thing you were desperately seeking from others. You are becoming your own safe harbor. So how do we begin this practice? How do we, the recovering people pleasers, start this journey of reclaiming our own approval? First, you must know what you stand for. You cannot live by your own standards if you have never taken the time to define them. So take a moment, after this video, and write down 3 to 5 words that you want to define your character. Words like honesty, discipline, courage, kindness, compassion. These are no longer just nice ideas. These become the pillars of your inner scorecard. Second, you change your daily audit. At the end of each day, instead of replaying conversations and wondering, what did they think of me, you will ask a different set of questions. Did I act in alignment with my value of honesty today, even when it was uncomfortable? Did I honor my value of discipline, even when no one was watching? Did I honor my value of compassion, even to myself? The goal isn't perfection. The goal is awareness. And third, you start small. You practice making choices based purely on your own preference, without seeking consensus. Choose the movie you want to watch. Order the food you want to eat. Wear the outfit that makes you feel good, not the one you think others will approve of. These small, seemingly insignificant acts are rehearsals. They are you, teaching your brain, little by little, that your own preference is valid, that your own choice is enough. You have spent enough of your life as a mirror, reflecting back what others want to see. It is time to become a lamp, radiating your own light from a source deep within. This journey is about building a relationship with your own voice so strong that even the loudest chorus of criticism, or the most seductive symphony of praise, cannot drown it out. If this idea resonates with you, if you feel that call to take back the controls, pause for a moment and type "I am my own anchor" in the comments below. Let's make that declaration together. It is more than just words. It is a commitment. A quiet promise to yourself that from this day forward, you will be the ultimate authority on your own worth. You will be the stable point in a spinning world. The peace you seek is not in their approval. It is in your alignment. The power of chosen solitude, your personal laboratory. We live in a world that is terrified of silence. Think about your day. From the moment you wake up, you are surrounded by noise. The podcast during your commute, the chatter of the office, the music in the grocery store, the television humming in the background at home, and the endless, scrolling river of information in the palm of your hand. We have become a culture of constant input, perpetually distracting ourselves from ourselves. The prospect of being truly alone with our own thoughts, for even a few minutes, has become so foreign that it feels uncomfortable, even frightening. We have come to confuse being alone with a state of punishment. A sign that we are unwanted, unloved, or unimportant. We have conflated two words, two experiences, that are in fact worlds apart, loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is a painful, involuntary state of disconnection. It is a hunger for connection that is not being met. It is the feeling of being on the outside looking in. It is an absence. And it is a genuine affliction, with real, documented negative effects on our mental and physical health. We are social creatures, and a life of forced loneliness is a life of quiet suffering. But solitude is something else entirely. Solitude is a powerful, voluntary state of connection, not with others, but with oneself. It is not an absence, but a presence. It is the deliberate act of closing the door on the noise of the world so that you can finally hear the whisper of your own voice. It is a choice. It is a skill. And in our modern world, it is a superpower. For many of us, the only time we are alone is when we are in a state of distress, after an argument, after a failure, when we are sick. So our brains have built a powerful association: alone equals bad. We must now intentionally break that association and teach our brains a new truth. Science is beginning to illuminate why this practice is so transformative. Researchers have found that even 15 minutes of intentionally chosen solitude can have a remarkable deactivation effect on our nervous systems. When you are in a quiet space, without the need to perform, react, or process external stimuli, your guard dog, your amygdala, finally has a chance to stand down. The constant, low-grade hum of alertness subsides. The production of stress hormones like cortisol decreases. And in that quiet, your commander, your prefrontal cortex, has the space it needs to do its best work. It can finally sort through the tangled mess of the day's events, connect disparate ideas, and access a deeper level of clarity. Do you remember that feeling many of you mentioned in the comments? That this message seemed to arrive at the exact moment you needed to hear it? That feeling of perfect timing, of a message from the universe? That is a perfect example of what solitude can provide. You don't have to wait for a random YouTube video to give you a moment of clarity. You can create the conditions for that clarity to arise within you, every single day. Solitude is how you learn to create those moments of perfect timing for yourself, intentionally. You stop hoping for a sign from the universe and you start creating a space where the universe can speak to you. This is not a new idea. This is a time-honored tradition of the wise. The great thinkers, artists, leaders, and mystics throughout all of human history have harnessed the power of solitude. It was in the plague-forced quarantine that Isaac Newton, alone with his thoughts, laid the groundwork for modern physics and calculus. It was in his simple cabin at Walden Pond that Henry David Thoreau connected with a truth deeper than the one offered by society. It was on their long, solitary walks that philosophers like Kierkegaard and Nietzsche wrestled with the very meaning of existence. They understood that you cannot hear the profound truths of life in a crowded room. You can only hear them in the stillness of your own company. I want you to start thinking of solitude as your personal laboratory. It is a sacred space where you can conduct the most important research of your life, the research of the self. In this lab, you can examine your beliefs without the pressure of defending them. You can sit with your emotions without needing to justify them. You can work through a problem, letting your mind wander in ways it can't when it's being constantly interrupted. You can reconnect with who you were before the world told you who you should be. So how do you build this laboratory? You don't need a cabin in the woods. You can start with 15 minutes. Schedule it into your calendar as if it were the most important meeting of your day, because it is. For those 15 minutes, there is only one rule: no external input. No phone, no computer, no books, no podcasts, no television. It is just you. You can take a walk, without headphones. Just notice the sky, the trees, the feeling of your feet on the ground. Let your mind wander where it will. You can sit in a chair with a cup of tea and a notebook. Perhaps you'll try the practice of morning pages, writing 3 pages of whatever comes to mind first thing in the morning, a brain dump to clear out the clutter. The most common question is, but what am I supposed to do? The answer is, at first, nothing. You are supposed to let yourself be. You will likely feel bored. You will feel restless. Your mind will tell you 100 other, productive, things you should be doing. This is the withdrawal from the addiction to distraction. Sit with it. Boredom is the precursor to creativity. Restlessness is the sign that your mind is finally detoxing from the noise. And once the restlessness subsides, you can begin to ask yourself the real questions. Not, what's on my to-do list, but, how do I feel, really? Not, what does my boss need from me, but, what does my soul need from me? You can reflect on your day. When did my guard dog bark today, and why? Did I act in alignment with my values? What drained my energy? What gave me life? Solitude is not an escape from the world. It is a pilgrimage to the center of yourself. It is the place you go to refuel, to recalibrate, to remember. It is where you gather the quiet strength, the clarity, and the compassion that you will then carry back out into the world. You do not go into solitude for yourself alone. You go into solitude so that when you return to your relationships, your work, and your life, you can offer them not your depleted, distracted, reactive self, but your most grounded, present, and authentic self. Using pain as fuel, the alchemy of resilience. Let me ask you a question we rarely dare to ask ourselves. What is the purpose of our deepest pain? Not the minor annoyances, but the real, soul-crushing hardships. The betrayal that shatters your trust. The failure that leaves you feeling ashamed and exposed. The loss that carves a hole in your life so deep you fear you might fall into it forever. Our modern world treats these experiences like a disease. Something to be medicated, distracted from, and overcome as quickly as possible. We see pain as a sign that life has gone wrong. A deviation from the path of happiness that we are all supposed to be on. But what if that is a profound misunderstanding? What if pain is not a detour from the path? What if, in some mysterious way, the pain is the path? The ancient alchemists dreamed of a process called transmutation, the mythical ability to turn a common, heavy, dull metal like lead into shining, precious, incorruptible gold. It was a metaphor for transformation, for elevation, for creating value from that which was considered worthless. This is the most accurate metaphor for true resilience. Resilience is not just about endurance. A block of lead can endure a lot, it can be beaten and battered, but it remains lead. True resilience is not just about bouncing back to who you were before the hardship. It is about allowing the hardship to change you, to deepen you, to transmute you into someone wiser, more compassionate, and more unshakable. It is the alchemy of the soul. It is the art of turning the lead of your pain into the gold of your character. So how does this alchemy begin? It begins with the one thing we are most taught to avoid: vulnerability. I am not talking about the public performance of vulnerability, of baring your soul for the world's consumption. I am talking about the quiet, terrifying, and courageous act of being vulnerable with yourself. You cannot transform a pain that you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot find the lesson in a wound that you pretend does not exist. The first step of this alchemy is to stop fighting the reality of your own suffering. It is to look your pain squarely in the eye and say, I see you. I feel you. You are real. And you are welcome here. This is an act of profound self-validation. The moment you stop telling yourself, I shouldn't feel this way, you stop the internal war. You lay down your weapons. And in that quiet ceasefire, the real work can begin. You are no longer wasting your precious energy on denial. All of that energy can now be used for transformation. This brings us to one of the most powerful ideas in all of Stoic philosophy, captured in the words of the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. He wrote in his private journal, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Read that again. What stands in the way becomes the way. The obstacle is not a roadblock stopping you from living your life. The obstacle is your life, right now. The heartbreak is your curriculum. The rejection is your teacher. The financial struggle is your training ground for ingenuity and discipline. The universe is not punishing you with these circumstances. It is presenting you with the exact raw materials you need to forge the next evolution of your own soul. When you can make this shift, pain ceases to be a punishment and becomes information. It becomes data. The sharp sting of betrayal is not just pain, it is data teaching you to refine your boundaries, to be more discerning with your trust, to value your own intuition more highly. The heavy weight of failure is not just shame, it is data teaching you about humility, about the flaws in your strategy, about the difference between what you thought you wanted and what you truly value. This shift in perspective is embodied by one crucial change in the questions you ask yourself. The disempowering question, the question that keeps us stuck in the leaden weight of victimhood, is, why is this happening to me? This question assumes you are a passive target of a cruel fate. It leads only to bitterness, resentment, and helplessness. The alchemist, the resilient soul, asks a different set of questions. They ask, what is this here to teach me? What strength is this pain inviting me to build? What part of my character is this experience demanding that I forge? Who is this asking me to become? Can you feel the difference? The first question is a dead end. The second set of questions is a doorway. It takes the power from the external event and places it directly back into your hands. You are no longer the victim of the story. You are the hero, the one who must learn and grow to meet the challenge. Think of a master woodworker who is given a piece of timber with a dark, swirling knot right in the middle. An amateur would see it as a flaw, something to be cut out and discarded. But the master sees it as the most interesting part of the wood. They don't try to hide the knot. They design the entire piece around it. They polish it, shape it, and make that flaw the central, most beautiful feature of the final creation. The scar becomes the signature. Your pain, your scars, your history, these are your knots. You can spend your life trying to hide them, trying to cut them out, pretending they don't exist. Or, you can do the work of the master. You can choose to integrate them. You can polish them with understanding, shape them with courage, and make them the source of your most profound beauty and strength. This is the ultimate expression of inner power. It is not the power to avoid the fire. It is the power to be the blacksmith, to step into the fire, and to use its heat to forge a character that does not bend, does not break, and does not rust. Life will bring you pain. That is a guarantee. But whether that pain diminishes you or deepens you, that is a choice. You can remain lead, or you can begin the great work of turning it into gold. Your path from now on. We have traveled a long way together in this short amount of time. We started with a truth that feels like a punch to the gut, nobody cares. We allowed ourselves to feel the cold shock of that realization, not to wallow in it, but to find the hidden door within it. A door that leads not to nihilism, but to liberation. From there, we journeyed inward, deep into the silent, intricate architecture of our own minds. We met the two ancient inhabitants of our inner world, the hypervigilant guard dog, whose job is to scream at shadows, and the wise, patient commander, whose job is to lead with reason. We learned that building an inner citadel isn't a fantasy, it is the real, tangible work of strengthening the leader within, of training ourselves to pause, to breathe, and to choose our response rather than being enslaved by our reaction. We stood before the mirror and confronted the ghost of approval, the exhausting, lifelong performance of the people-pleaser. We saw how we built our sense of self on the unstable ground of other people's opinions, and we made a new choice. We chose to seek not their validation, but our own alignment. We chose to become our own anchor in a turbulent world. Then, we learned to unplug from the endless noise and to find a sanctuary in silence. We discovered that solitude is not a punishment, but a privilege. It is our personal laboratory, the sacred space where we can finally hear our own voice, where we can detox from the world's expectations and reconnect with our own truth. And finally, we stood before the roaring fire of our own pain. We learned to see it not as a catastrophe, but as a crucible. We chose to become alchemists, to take the lead of our heartbreaks, our failures, and our losses, and to begin the great work of transmuting them into the gold of wisdom, compassion, and unshakable strength. We learned to stop asking, "Why me?" and to start asking, with courage, "What is this here to teach me?" So now, where do you go from here? This is not a movie. There are no rolling credits. This is your life. The ideas we have explored today are not meant to be a pleasant intellectual diversion. They are a call to action. A call to a new way of living, starting the moment this video ends. Your path from now on is not about achieving some final, enlightened state of perfection. It is about your commitment to the practice. It is a commitment to showing up for yourself, day after day. It is a commitment to choosing the harder right over the easier wrong. It is a commitment to the person you are becoming. You don't need more applause, you need deeper alignment. You don't need more permission, you need stronger principles. You don't need everyone to understand your path, you just need the courage to keep walking it, one quiet, intentional step at a time. The Stoics never promised that this path would be easy. But they promised it would be worth it. They taught us that we are not leaves in the wind, tossed about by the chaotic gusts of external events. We are the architects of our character. We are the builders of our own citadel. And in every moment, we are faced with a choice: stay small and safe, waiting for a world that will never truly care, or rise quietly, intentionally, with discipline and with purpose. And on this path, it can sometimes feel lonely. So before you go, I want to invite you into one final act of community and commitment. The comment section below is not just a place for feedback, it is a gathering. It is a meeting place for all the other people who are walking this same quiet path. A place for mutual recognition. So I ask you to do two things. First, answer this question, for yourself and for others: what is the one truth from this video that you will carry with you starting today? Be specific. Write it down. Make it real. Declaring it is the first step to living it. Reading the answers of others will remind you that you are not alone. Second, if this message resonated with you, if it felt like a light turning on in a dark room, please share it with one other person. Not for the sake of a view or an algorithm, but as an act of service. There is someone in your life who is struggling in silence, who is drowning in the need for approval, who feels that they are the only one. This message might be the lifeline they didn't even know they were searching for. And finally, to you, the person who has stayed to the very end. The one who is walking your own quiet path, laying one brick at a time in the walls of your own citadel, often with no one cheering you on. I see you. The world may not see the thousands of unseen choices you make every day to be a little stronger, a little braver, a little more true. But they are not unseen. You see them. And they are forging you into someone remarkable. Keep going. Don't wait for life to reward you. Become the reward. Live with such clarity that praise feels unnecessary. Live with such integrity that criticism feels irrelevant. Live with such purpose that distraction feels impossible. Because in the end, nobody truly cares as much as you think they do. And that is not your weakness. That is your freedom. Now, go. Focus on your life. And build it into something that doesn't just impress others, but makes you, finally, and deeply, proud.